You know, variety really is the spice of the comic book life. Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I am going to bust out an order that I placed with G-Mart Comics. I have ordered from G-Mart Comics in the past, and I just, for some reason, they haven't been on my radar, and a friend of mine kind of reminded me of G-Mart recently and started to take a look at kind of their inventory and some of the books that they list. And what's interesting is as books become lower in stock on Gmart, the price actually goes up. And that's their way of kind of automatically handling the market ups and downs, I would say. So if you have a book that maybe was brand new and cover price, and you take any recently released book that maybe sold out everywhere, what happens is as the quantity starts to diminish and deplete on Gmart, then in order to buy the last remaining quantities, they will typically double, triple, or quadruple that price, which I think is a pretty smart way of handling things because on one hand, if you're early, then you can get those books at cover. So it benefits those buyers that are savvy enough to kind of know what to look out for. And then maybe if you're like me and you lag behind a little bit, you may have to overpay, but at least there's still some quantity there. So it kind of works out for everybody in that regard. The other thing that I noticed is that they will also have some of your ratio variants available there. So if you're looking for maybe some harder to find recently released incentives, Gmart might be a place for you to try and search for those books and see if they're available there. All right, so let me unbox this order, and then we'll kind of look at the stats on Gmart as well. I have some historical data from when I used to buy from them more regularly, and then we'll compare this order and maybe even grade some of the books just to kind of see where Gmart stands today. So let's get to the unboxing and see what we got. All right, here we go. This is the order from G-Mart Comics, placed in early March, mid-March, I would say. It arrived pretty quickly from Chicago, Illinois. So let's go ahead and unbox this shipment from G-Mart. Oh, here we go, the packing peanuts. All right, so let's go ahead and get this out of here. Beautiful. So very well packaged. I forgot. I really forgot about Gmart. I kind of hone in on the same sources for books, but mixing it up every once in a while, I think, is a good idea. And again, it's different data, different sellers, different opportunities to find different books. So this is kind of how the brick of comics came. A little piece of tape holding these bags together, but it looks like they're all just. Let's see here. Get this piece of tape off. Oh, I see. There's one outer bag. So let's slide these books out of there. Okay, so not too bad. Let's check out these great books. So, in no particular order, just going from the bottom of the stack. Here is Han Solo and Chewbacca #1. I thought that this cover was probably the best. I read the first issue. I thought it was really good. I'm already kind of hooked to kind of see what happens in the second issue. Expansion of the Solo family, potentially. Greedo's in the mix. There's a great line in here where Han basically threatens Greedo, and kind of a throwback to episode 4, but also the original storyline, plot line between Solo and Greedo in episode 4. But anyway, This Phil Noto cover was great. I mean, I the likeness of the characters is amazing, but Noto is known for this. The line work too. It's just amazing. It's just so impressive. And then we've got Jabba and Greedo there at the bottom as well. So it's great. I would love to have this slabbed and up on the wall. So let's see if this ended up being a 9.8 or not. And this was the 1 in 25 ratio variant for Han Solo and Chewbacca. So let's take a look. So at first glance, it looks like a 9.8 candidate, except then when we look down here, there are some creases. I believe that those could be pressed. They're not color breaking. The color break right there and kind of right there, it's kind of on the spine. The corners are in really good shape. Let's check out the back. We'll kind of examine the spine here. And so that those little creases down there didn't make it through to the back side. Up there is a little bit of an issue on that corner. So probably a really strong 9.6 and could be pressed into a 9.8. I think if that corner ends up being the only problem right there, and that it's right there on the edge, so CGC or CBCS might give me a pass on that if these don't exist. So it's a 9.6 all day as is, borderline 9.4, but I'm going to put it down as a 9.6 with the ability to be pressed, because I do think that they would let the issue with the corner slide. Nothing wrong with these bags and boards too from G-Mart, by the way, so I'm going to put those aside and keep those. But I am going to put this in a fullback because it was a 1 in 25. So at the end of this video, I will go through and show you what I paid for these books. I don't know if I got any deals per se. And like I said in the intro, if you didn't, I don't want to say it's always around like, did you know what you're doing? Did you pre-order? Sometimes it's the ability to actually find the books. So if you were fortunate enough to find the book and you wanted to pre-order it and you got it at sort of the $17.49, $19.99 price point, then great. I had to pay a little bit more to get these, but boy, this might be on a list of like my favorite Star Wars covers. I just think it's so classic, and I'm a fan of Phil Noto, so just wanted to have this. Just looks great, so I'm glad to have that, and I'll take it in a 9.6 and maybe work on it a little bit to see if I could press out those issues. All right, next up. If I was going to get the 1 in 25, I took a shot and grabbed the 1 in 50. And this is the Adam Hughes cover of Han Solo and Chewbacca. Of course, after I got it, I heard that it looks very similar to some of his past work. I still think it's a great cover. I may have FOMO'd a little bit here when the cover A was selling out everywhere. And then I found these on G-Mart and wanted to grab them. So I felt like, well, it would be still a good investment otherwise. So let's take a look here and see how the 1 in 50 looks. So far, so good. It does not have like the bottom corner or near the bottom corner creases, I should say. Right there is just a tiny, tiny little something on the corner, but otherwise really strong. Now on the back, let's turn this around this way. Right in here, I see a little bit of a crease near the spine, but I don't think it's too bad. This sort of like spine splitting that happens up and down these moderns, that is allowed. But here's the big problem right on the back there. So that's a blunted corner, and that's unfortunate because even pressed out, it's going to leave the ripples of a spine break right there. A strong copy nonetheless, but it's going to be a 9.6 as is, and I'm not going to indicate that that could be pressed. And I've shied away from doing that, especially when there are color breaks. So, like I said, even if that corner could be smoothed out somehow, you're going to see the rippling of those two or three white lines, and you'll get dinged on that from CGC. But a 9.6 for that 1 in 50 is not too bad. Obviously, you always want the 9.8 if you can get it, but still in a 9.6, I will take it. But what I should have realized, I should have asked myself is, out of these, which one, regardless of 9.6, 9.8 condition, which one of these two would you slab and hang on the wall if you had to choose one? And it's the Noto one all day long. This one I think is really, if you're an Adam Hughes chaser, you have to have all the Hughes covers, things like that. I would argue too. Yeah, and it's weird. Like Chewie has no eyes in this one too. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of regret on that one. Except if it were a 9.8, maybe I don't feel so regretful. But anyway, and then I wanted to go ahead and grab two more cover A's on this one. I did get a couple of these recently from Midtown, and they were slightly beat up due to a damage in transit. I can already tell on these two. Like this one has a corner issue, not from transit because they're using G-Mart's using this kind of Silver Age size standard bags and boards, so it is giving it some extra protection. This one could be a 9.8. I'm not going to open both of these and check them out, but 9.8, 9.6, we're in really, really great high grade territory for these books. So far, so good. All right, got three more in here, and actually two of these are the same. And this is Iron Man 17. Now, this book has come back down. Let me try and get rid of the glare here. This book has come back down in terms of value, but not in scarcity. I really can't find this anyway, but I think cover price, again, we'll look at the values, but I think it's hovering around $8 or $9, roughly or arguably double cover. This book really, really heated up and took off. A great Riri Williams cover. Could be in her top 10 of best covers. I was quite surprised just to see it sitting there at G-Mart, and it was not cover price. So I actually paid fair market value for each of these, and then of course the value dropped. But I'm still seeing limited availability on this one in terms of being able to find it. Most online stores have been sold out of this one for a while, but what a great Iron Man cover. Really like Sway's art, and I totally whiffed on this one and did not pre-order it, and was really, really glad when I was able to find those two. All right, and the last one was another book that I was surprised to see. This is Catwoman number 40. I've been showing quite a few Sozamaika covers, in particular the Red Sonja covers that she did, the Valentine's Day special. And she is currently on a run of Catwoman incentives. And this is 40. I think 39 was the first one to really pop. But I want to take this out and take a look at it more closely. It is a card stock, so you have that going for you. But like I've said in the past, when there's damage on the card stock, it's really damaged, unfortunately. This one looks pretty clean on the front. I am noticing a little bit of splitting down here in this corner. And that will happen with the cardstock, where the pressure of the book being put together just ends up splitting it. But this one's pretty bad. More than typical, especially down there because it's got that inside white. So that was always tough. I have graded slabs with corners worse than that. It's really, really crispy otherwise. But would I take a chance and send this into CGC? I don't know. It looks really, really nice everywhere else except there's a little bit of just a chipping down there. I think it's going to have to be a 9.6 for me just to be safe. But it's a gorgeous cover, gorgeous book. Sozamaika, really, if she hasn't arrived already, then it's any day now. but a lot of demand and attention for these covers, so I wanted to grab this Catwoman, where kind of a throwback to the. It's interesting timing. It's a throwback to kind of the the Michael Keaton Batman, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, but there's also the Batman '89 series. So this might have been more appropriate for that series, but nevertheless, still great cover there. But I think I'm going to leave this as 9.6. So none of the big incentives got a 9.8 from G-Mart, but still 9.6s or 9.6s with an ability to press. Really nothing to complain about too much. And I'll grade those individual issues as well, just to see if any of those got a 9.8. So let's look at the order analysis and see what I paid for the books, kind of see where their values are, and we'll see if, did I overpay, underpay, did I hit fair market value, and start to add some more recent data in for Gmart. So here is the breakdown of the order. Okay, here is the breakdown of the order from G-Mart Comics. Placed the order on March 9th. It was a total order cost of $186.39. They had a bag and board fee of $1.39. It was free shipping. And what's interesting here, I've talked about how Midtown is the worst. They use the worst bag and boards. Things from Another World uses appropriate bags and boards. They're decent, but it's expensive. What's interesting about Gmart is when you check out, you can actually specify the type of bag and board, and I choose the silver size because that's what I will buy and rebag and board everything. So some of the, I would say, more regular released comics, I'm not going to have to rebag and board those, which is nice. So I don't mind paying for that. But for the 7 books that I bought from Gmart, it cost me around 19-20 cents for a bag and board. Anyway, so placed on March 9th, I distributed that $1.39 across the cost of each of the 7 books here in column Z, so that my math is correct. This total here matches up with column N in the summary. Now, these are brand new books, so there's no real reason to compare the grade as far as with CGC. There's really no CGC value here. But here in column S, I went ahead and plugged in the actual grades. I graded the other 4 cover A's, or not cover A's, but the regular books, the non-incentive books. 3 out of 4 were 9.8. So the 2 Iron Man 17s ended up being 9.8s. And then 1 of the Han Solo Chewbacca books were 9.8. The other was 9.6. And then, unfortunately, the 3 big incentives for me were 9.6. They all had some slight defect that maybe could be pressed out or not. So the total here, almost a 9.7 average with almost a 43% chance to get a 9.8 from Gmart. Now, this is interesting, and I'll return to kind of the breakdown here in terms of whether or not this was a smart or valuable order here in a second. But if we go to the ledger stats and look up Gmart, let's see, there we go. They are 26th overall, and I rank them by my chance of getting a 9.8. And then if there's a tie somewhere, the tiebreaker is the average grade. But just looking at this, I've ordered 52 books from them. I've graded 43, about 28% chance to get a 9.8 from Gmart. I've had 12 of them be personally graded a 9.8. I've even sent one into CGC, and a book has come back slabbed in a 9.8. So it is a source for 9.8s potentially. And then the average grade here, 9.34-ish. This more recent order was above those metrics, so that's a good thing for Gmart. But kind of, I'd say somewhere around the middle. I could say, well, if there's a sample size of maybe 30 books and above, maybe it gets into the top 15, top 12 maybe. So a great source for books, but would like to see more data come in that's aligned with this order, which is much nicer, that had everything 9.6, 9.8, which is really more than you could ask for, honestly. Now, in terms of just the current market value, what I noticed when I was getting these numbers is these books have dropped. So if we're looking at the fair market value from the cover price perspective, these were higher when I purchased the books, and they've come down a bit. So we've got the Catwoman sitting at about $38. The Iron Man 17, like I said, now it's about an $8 book. It's creeping in the wrong direction towards cover price. Uh, these were these were selling for about $20, and people were saying it's going to keep going up because it's one of it's Riri, and it's going to be amazing, and I agree with that. But um, maybe if you just do a little bit more digging, you can still find these sitting around for cover price. The Han Solo Chewbacca definitely has come back to cover price. This 4.99 fair market value indicated by cover price data here is certainly an indication that this book is available, and you can get it at cover. Now the 1 in 25 and the 1 in 50 are interesting. The Phil Noto 1 in 25 is holding right at ratio, and the Hughes, although it's come down in value, is sitting at about $80. I think it's trending back towards the ratio, but again, this is why I didn't mind paying for this one, because I knew that it had built-in value. Any sort of Hughes incentive like this is going to typically retain value over time. So although it was expensive, it cost me $75.20 to acquire it. I just felt like at worst it was something I could get my money back on later on, and that's why I gambled and was hoping to get that 9.8 out of it, but it ended up being 9.6. The Noto ended up paying $5 more than the current value is as we speak, but I like that cover more, and I would try and maybe see if I could fix that one and send it in for pressing, and that would go on my slab wall of Star Wars comics. So looking at the total cost and comparing it to the total value, it was a $17.31 loss when you're comparing the values to what I paid. So yeah, I don't know, and I think that the kicker here really was I paid over $15 each for Iron Man 17. Uh, I just I had a feeling like that book was going to continue to rise, maybe kind of settle in at about $25. But I think that because it was an open order variant, it was not an incentive, that it just sort of fell down. Like there was more quantity out there than people realized, and just kind of got hot. The flippers made their money, and then it came back down. Uh, this particular order, I'd say maybe outside of the Catwoman 40, I would classify it as a FOMO order completely. At the time, I felt like I had missed out on Han Solo and Chewbacca. The news broke about the last page reveal of the story, uh, and I didn't have it to read myself to check out. And as a Star Wars fan, I just felt like I had missed something, and found these books on G-Mart, bought the incentives, and then while I was there, I was like, oh, look, Iron Man 17. Couldn't believe that that was there too. And then obviously just did kind of a broad search for Sozamaika, and Catwoman 40 came back, and I grabbed that too. So that's where the cost of this order got a little out of control, just because that FOMO settled in around the Han Solo and Chewbacca book. I'm still very, very pleased with Gmart. They pack the books well. They used the bag and boards that I like, and I think that their system of maybe trying to make sure that the books aren't completely sold out, to let somebody like me come in a little bit after the fact, after books have heated up, and grab the books. I like their system of how they manage their quantity and the price and availability, and limit you on how many books you can order and so forth based on all of that. I like that kind of automated system that's built in, and it's built in to protect them, but also it just makes these books more available to sellers. You can't just kind of go in and buy 100 copies of something without the price being adjusted for the number of copies that you're buying. So I like their system. I really felt like that they shipped the books well. They shipped it in a timely manner. I'm definitely going to look to buy from G-Mart more often in the future. I think that for me personally, I just have to be smarter about this. I get way too excited and too caught up, and end up probably overpaying. Again, I'm trying not to think of the grade itself, but looking back, I didn't need the 1 in 50 hues of that book. The Noto book, I knew as soon as I saw the cover. That's amazing. I'm very, very happy I got that one. But that's just kind of the way it goes. So it's part of the fun of the hobby. You get caught up in the excitement. You get caught up in the collecting side. Certainly the values and all of that. And I'm right in the front of the line of saying I'm guilty of those feelings and acting on those feelings. But again, I just want to be a little bit smarter next time. I think it was really more the excitement that G-Mart had these books available where I couldn't find them anywhere else. And I felt like it was kind of cool that I ended up finding them there. So let me know. Leave a comment. Let me know what your experience has been with these stores. I always love to hear other collectors talk about where they're getting books and whether they've had some issues or they're satisfied or have any recommendations for where to buy books. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.